critically analyse.
And critically analyse indeed. It's Grant Brindle here with Media Moves for another month at PBA-FM. Media Moves is brought to you by the South Australian Association for Media Education Incorporated, which is a professional body of educators, industry people, community people who are joined together with the common thread of media and information literacy. And the program is sponsored by Valley View Secondary, your friendly neighbourhood high school up on Wright Road at Paravista. And if you're in that area at the moment, Valley View Secondary are having their open night. I think it runs till 9:30. So if you want to have a look at, it's a bit of a hidden gem up there, a nice school that is not too large like a lot of them are facing. Anyway, coming up in tonight's program, as usual, we have a look at what's going on in the world of media and media education. And we might even have some movie tickets to give away towards the end of the program. And our rapid resident reviewer, Linda, she's had a look at a couple of films, so we'll hear from her as well. And that will be our half hour gone. Boom. Well, it's half an hour, 25 minutes now. But certainly it's been an interesting time since last month in the media. We've had all sorts of shenanigans with Facebook suddenly pulling out of giving Australians news, although that was eventually settled. And then we've had all sorts of controversies, and of course the one at the moment is the Oprah Winfrey, Meghan Markle and Prince Harry to our special. Which, if you watch the news tonight, that's what it was all about, a reaction and counter-reaction and things like that. Anyway, it did manage to pull in 1.366 million viewers across the 5 capital cities. It was the pair's first joint interview since they stepped down as senior royals at the start of last year. And nationally, 1.78 million people watched the wide-ranging conversation during which Markle admitted she experienced suicidal thoughts during her time in England, and also revealed that a member of the royal family had concern about their son's, Archie's, skin colour. Most viewers who watched were in Melbourne, about 400,000, followed by Sydney, 300,000, Perth, 160, Brisbane, 250,000, and Adelaide we had about 130,000. Before the interview began, Oprah confirmed her questions had not been provided to Markle and Prince Harry in advance. No subjects were off limits and they were not being paid. Although, of course, when you set yourself up as a new entity, Archie World, good publicity, isn't it? And we already know that they've sealed a deal with Netflix worth about $198 million. And they're moving, I don't think they've produced their first one yet, but they've moved into podcasts with a $53 million deal with Spotify. And that's works out a lot more than the top podcasters on Spotify have made. So the interview was easily the most watched program of Monday night, and it led, they reckon, tough competition with Married at First Sight and Four Corners, called Bursting the Canberra Bubble, following up on last year's Inside the Canberra Bubble. And this was the other thing. This is the other thing which is in the news. And it's a sort of a double-edged sword, because it's in the news, it's in the media, but it's also there's an element of how are the media using it? And we've got the allegation against Attorney General Christian Porter, and there's some interesting things in that, and some quite different points of views. Some people have pointed out, including Paul Kelly on Fox News, that there was quite a different treatment when in 2014 Bill Shorten, as Leader of the Opposition, was facing rape allegations, and the media played it very, very softly, and in fact didn't really allude to anything until Bill Shorten came out. And Paul Kelly had a look and he said the two statements, Mr. Shorten was asked a total of 9 questions in just under 5 minutes of press conference, and that compared to 53 questions levelled to Christian Porter over 33 minutes. The other thing that's a bit quiet is the 28th of February email that was sent to a Liberal senator, which has been passed on to the federal police with an similar allegation against a frontbench Labor MP, and that's sort of gone very quiet. And of course, there's the other rape case, which has embroiled the Defence Minister. It just seems a bit coincidental that all these things are coming out around at this time. But and the Christian Porter one, it's interesting that it's her circle of friends that seems to be pushing the story, and in fact, I believe there's a connection between the Channel 2 reporter who started the story and the woman herself. So it's pretty. Whichever way you look at it, the waters are pretty muddy, and quite apart from the case itself, the way the media handling it. Media Watch sort of came out, I suppose, sort of down the middle, and saying that some things were handled appallingly, and but then saying that, well, perhaps that was the situation itself. Anyway, let's have a listen. Talking about Media Watch, have a listen to Media Watch, and this is the end of the continuation of the Facebook saga.
Back in the good books, social media giant Facebook refriends Australia, lifting the ban on news.
The tech giant has announced it will put Australian news content back onto its platform.
Facebook has refriended Australia.
Hello, I'm Paul Barry. Welcome to Media Watch. And after a week of war, the government and media are again friends with Facebook, which has put news back on its platform and agreed to cough up some cash. And first to take advantage of the money on offer was Seven West, with CEO Kerry Stokes saying,
"These are groundbreaking opportunities for all of our network and not limited entirely to news."
We don't know how much Facebook is paying Seven West for its content because that is confidential, as our deals announced last week by Private Media, Schwartz Media and Solstice Media, which publish Crikey, the Saturday Paper and the New Daily. And it seems Facebook believes it can decide who it will and who it won't pay, with the company saying,
"We have come to an agreement that will allow us to support the publishers we choose to, including small and local publishers."
Note the phrase, "we choose to." Note also that the last-minute stitch-up between Josh Frydenberg and Mark Zuckerberg gives Facebook and Google a way of avoiding the media bargaining code altogether. As Frydenberg explained to Nine's Today programme,
Before I, as the Treasurer, designate one of the digital platforms to which the code will apply, I would give them 1 month's notice, and also ahead of making any decision about designating a particular digital platform under the code, I would take into account the commercial deals that have been put in place.
to escape the code, Facebook and Google will just have to persuade the government they have signed enough commercial deals. They may not have to sign deals with everyone. So who and how many could miss out? As Lee O'Connor, editor of the Coonamble Times, told RN Breakfast,
I do feel like it's a bit like the main meal and the scraps. I don't know that there is any genuine intent to ensure that regional audiences and regional media are properly looked after.
The Coonamble Times is one of 160 small newspapers represented by Country Press Australia. And how close are they to a deal with Facebook or Google? Answer, not close at all. Country Press President Bruce Ellen, who hopes to negotiate a deal for all those papers, told Media Watch,
"We're concerned regional, local and small publishers may be dealt out, particularly given the last-minute amendments have emboldened Facebook to say they can now pick and choose who they deal with. The government and the ACCC say regionals must be included and will take a very dim view if they miss out. We need it to happen. The government and the ACCC are confident it will happen. But under the law, it doesn't have to happen. Ultimately, it's going to be at the Treasurer's discretion."
Also nervous about where all this is heading is Angela Priestley, who owns and edits the website Women's Agenda.
You know, small publishers, independent media, regional newspapers, everything going on all across Australia that is run by entrepreneurs. It's run by people in towns who take a chance and take a risk on trying to do journalism in their town and in their community. We need some certainty now. So I'd like to see something happen rather fast, but at the same time, I think we're all feeling a little bit nervous at the moment.
To get any money off big tech, sites need to qualify as a news business under the bargaining code. And to do that, they'll need to have an annual turnover of at least $150,000, prove they're contributing to public interest journalism, and be registered by ACMA as a media business. But some small independent players fear they'll end up with little or nothing, even if they do meet those criteria. Giles Parkinson, owner of Renew Economy, asked Google if his content could appear on Showcase, and he was told,
News Showcase is a product for public interest journalism, so there may not be a great fit.
Renew Economy, which has a turnover in excess of $150,000, covers energy policy and renewables, so it's hard to see how it could not fit the bill. And not surprisingly, Parkinson asks,
on what criteria are these decisions being made? Who defines the public interest? What happens to the smaller publishers who are not the chosen ones? Does Showcase and Facebook News now mean that those publications paid by Google and Facebook will get priority over others?
But the ACCC's Rod Sims is adamant that no one will miss out, telling Media Watch,
why would they, Google and Facebook, seek to do commercial deals with only the 6 to 7 news organisations that employ most of the journalists working in Australia and not those who are much smaller, which will cost them much less?
To save money, perhaps, or because they don't want their content? In the end, it may be up to Josh Frydenberg to decide the little bloke's fate. Will he go to war for them if Facebook and Google go back to making nuclear threats? We're not sure he will. But beyond who gets paid and who doesn't, it's fair to ask if the money flowing back to the media will also flow back into journalism. As Labor's Ted Husic says,
the test has to be, will we see more journalists? Will we see more outlets? Will we see more diversity? Or will this simply be a transfer of wealth out of the tech companies to the shareholders of big media? Because if it only is that, then the entire process is another joke and has not met what everyone was told at the start this would be about, which was to inject more diversity in one of the most concentrated media markets on the planet.
We don't yet know the answer to that. But it is looking better than last week, when some media sites look set to lose up to half of their audience.
And that was Media's Watch and look at Facebook bouncing back again. But the news is that traffic across news websites is yet to bounce back following Facebook's short-lived ban on publishers and people sharing local and international news. Using its digital content rankings methodology, data provided Nielsen found that in the week since Facebook switched news content back on in its Facebook app, consumption of the current events and global news category by Australians is yet to fully bounce back, and it had risen by 13% since news was reinstated, but that's still 7% lower than it was beforehand. But it's interesting though, because we've still got Kevin Rudd ranting about Murdoch and News Corporation, yet I don't ever remember anything like News Corporation denying services, suddenly saying, oh, that's it, you're not going to have it. I still think that these Google and Facebook are forces to be reckoned with, and are certainly there are some sides to them which make Murdoch look like a little bit of a lamb. Anyway, okay, let's have a listen now to our Rapid Resident Reviewer.
Long Story Short, starring Rafe Spall, Zara Newman and Noni Hazelhurst. Teddy wakes up the morning after his wedding to realise every few minutes he's jumping forward to the next year of his life. It's like a Groundhog Day, but only going forward. It was a good film, but you had to follow it. I give it 8 out of 10. The Marksman, starring Liam Neeson. A rancher on the Arizona border becomes a temporary carer for a young Mexican boy trying to flee the cartel who are on his trail into the US. A very good film. Plenty of action. Definitely a 10 out of 10. Until next time. Bye for now.
Movie Music Morning on PBA-FM every Thursday from 9 a.m. Join Linda for all the latest information about cinema releases, what's new to the DVD scene, 80s music and much more.
It's astounding.
Movie Music Morning with Linda, Thursday mornings on PBA-FM 89.7.
Thanks for meeting me. I got a job for us.
Blood General. The boys and I prefer you kindly take your murderous ass someplace else.
James Ford.
General Ryle is requesting your counsel.
Hey, we're sort of a package deal now, so... Thank you. Pay my tab? 4 hours ago, the crew of the van there made first contact.
Put me through to the Alliance Command. This is an emergency. I need to report an FC incident.
They believe we're hostile. You really think you got what it takes to get this job done? Ask me that again. I dare you.
Operation Cosmic Sin is now a go.
Suits up. Quite the cast of villains you've assembled here.
You ever do a quant jump before?
Oh.
Should have stayed at the bar.
Glory, this is my legacy.
You want peace? You get ready for war. The last time I heard that, used as an excuse to justify dropping a Q-bomb on 70 million souls. Your first instinct, first contact, made you call Ford the Blood General.
He's a warmonger, but he's gonna hit him hard before this war ever starts.
It is a sin against the cosmos to wipe out a civilization.
Prepare a Q-bomb.
And in the event of first contact, humanity must strike first to ensure the continued survival of our species.
You can't just surrender.
Nobody surrendered.
And that's the trailer for Cosmic Sin, a new movie which hits cinemas March 11. And later on the program, towards the end of the program, I think I'm going to have some in-season passes to give away to that. Linda, you probably recognise Bruce Willis's voice. Yes, Bruce is in this playing notorious war hero General James Ford. And 7 rogue soldiers launch a preemptive strike against a newly discovered alien civilization in the hopes of ending an interstellar war before it even starts. So you've got Bruce Willis as the notorious war hero. You've got General Aaron Ryle, which is Frank Grillo. And also in it is... ethnologist Dr. Leah Goss, played by Perry Reeves, bull-headed specialist Braxton Ryle, played by Brandon Thomas Lee, demolitions expert Dash Wick, played by Corey Large, and a quantum engineer, Lieutenant Fiona Ardeen, played by Adelaide Kane. Anyway, Goss, the original architect of Operation Cosmic Sin, is captured and her body is hijacked. All sorts of... I actually had a preview of this yesterday, and it's an action film. It's an action film, I'll say that for it. Bruce Willis is in it. So in Linda's books, that means it's got to be worth something. So, yes. Anyway, time is starting to run away with me. On this day, a survey was carried out by Music Choice. This is back in 2005. And this was what songs would Britons most like played at their funeral. And here are the top 3 songs, starting with the very first one. The top 3 songs. And at the end of the program, if you can identify one of those 3 songs, you can ring the station and win a pass to Cosmic Sin. Here we go. Top 3 songs to be played at your funeral.
Death's a joke, it's true.
Well, that's me done for another month. So it's Grant Brindle. And, of course, we've got Rock Hard coming up after this. I haven't said to ring yet, people. 825-03735. If you'd like to give me a minute to finish the program, 825-03735 and identify one of the top 3 songs to be played at a funeral. Now, I don't know whether you agree with that or not, but that's what came up. Also, on this day, 1977, we had the Sex Pistols at 7 o'clock in the morning on a trestle table set up outside Buckingham Palace, which of course is in London. The Sex Pistols signed to A&M Records. The real signing had taken place the day before. An after-party was held at the offices of A&M Records following the signing, where the group set about wreaking unforeseen havoc on the posh building, with Sid Vicious smashing a toilet and cutting his foot, trailing blood everywhere he went, while Rotten cursed and threatened every upscale executive in sight, and guitarist Steve Jones getting it on with an unnamed fan in the restroom. Needless to say, the contract only lasted for 6 days. That's the Sex Pistols. Anyway, it's time for me, and we'll finish off with a little bit of Sex Pistols. Until next month, it's me saying goodbye.